Thank you, Nancy. Oh my goodness, it's always exciting to see everyone who's come to join us today. I'm so honored to be leading today's presentations, Learn from the Experts, Voices That Matter, because the voices that matter are the folks who have the lived experience. So we have a few just little housekeeping things to keep in mind. Of course, Nancy let us all know that we're going to be recording this session. You'll be able to find it later on the MADRC YouTube page. So if you're here today and you get inspired, you know that you can send this to other people. You'll find the link easily on the MADRC YouTube page. We will take questions at the end. We have a team member moderating the chat. So feel free, put any questions that you have in the chat so that we can address those. And then, of course, please take a few minutes to complete the post-event survey. We care about your feedback. These programs are for you, the members of our community. And so we want to make them as tailored to you as possible. Yes, getting to know MADRC. MADRC, the Massachusetts Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. It has been at the center, the forefront of dementia research, treatment, and care since 1984. MADRC is comprised of expert staff from both Mass General Hospital and Brigham and Women's Hospital. They work closely together to lead cutting-edge research, provide professional and community resources, and present educational content like the webinar that we have today. The MADRC research team is leading the fight against Alzheimer's disease and related dementias by advancing research on several fronts. MADRC has a goal to better understand how to identify, target, prevent, and fight these devastating brain diseases. You know, I say all the time that the first step is understanding, is to get that expert diagnosis, because that is what can help connect you to your community of care. Knowing that you have Alzheimer's disease or that you may be at risk for developing Alzheimer's disease can connect you with the wonderful community at the Alzheimer's Association, can help lead you to MADRC to know, could you participate in research? Is this educational content available to you? And that leads me to thinking about connecting with care and support. We may not have a cure for the diseases that lead to dementia today, but we do have a cure right now for the loneliness and isolation that may come along with an Alzheimer's or related dementia diagnosis. You know, ask yourself, have you thought about joining a support group? Whether you are a person living with a diagnosis or you're a caregiver of someone living with a diagnosis, there are many support groups available to you. You can connect through MADRC, the MGH Dementia Care Collaborative, our MGH FTD unit, if you're a caregiver of a loved one living with frontotemporal dementia. There are many online and in-person caregiver support groups available. There are support groups available if you're a person living with a diagnosis. And there are many opportunities on those same websites to connect with free educational resources. So right now, the folks who are here, you're participating in a live educational event, but you can go on the MADRC YouTube channel, you can go online on the MGH Dementia Care Collaborative, and also through the MGH FTD unit and find recordings of educational resources that may be relevant to your life living alongside dementia. And don't forget, engaging in advocacy can be a way to become informed and feel empowered. There are opportunities to participate at the local, state, and national level to raise your voice, share your experience, and help to shine a spotlight on the importance of dedicating funds and attention to research, care, and services for Alzheimer's and related dementia. Don't forget, you know, every now and again, we all need to connect with someone. And that connection may need to happen at 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And when you need that connection and support, the Alzheimer's Association's 24/7 helpline operates 365 days a year. You can call that 1-800 number and be connected for support today. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So wonderful to see all of you here. And I am thrilled to turn the program over to Judy Johansson.
Thanks, Katie, for that introduction. And it's great to be here with everybody today. As you heard, my name is Judy Johansson, and I'm a research ambassador. But my lived experience has led me to my role here at the Massachusetts Alzheimer's Disease Research Center as the program coordinator of the memory study. You know, life tends to lay out a map for us with some very predictable paths: love, marriage, family, careers, and more. Some of those paths lead us to meander down scenic country roads. Some thrust us onto speeding highways, and the less predictable are the ones that knock us off our feet and thrust us into a tumultuous ocean without a boat. That is how we felt when my husband Steve was diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's at the age of 59. What could be done? How could we live with hope as a compass? We sought help from the Alzheimer's Association. We joined support groups, became public policy advocates, and more. But Steve's paternal instinct led him to want to get involved with research. He said after he was diagnosed, "I won't be here to teach our grandchildren to sail, but I can share my information so that they may never receive the same diagnosis that I did." As his wife and care partner, I was not as enthusiastic to enter this realm that we knew nothing about, but ultimately it was his decision. He enrolled in observational studies and brain imaging studies and a clinical trial. When asked if he'd be interested in donating his brain in the future, he said, "That's a no-brainer, take it." Our research visits afforded us a chance to be a part of a team. We were met by brilliant and compassionate people who were working tirelessly to lead us into a future without Alzheimer's. Steve was closely monitored by the clinicians and researchers conducting the studies. An added benefit of research was that I felt that Steve had extra eyes on him. As his study partner, it felt cathartic to be able to do this together as a team. For him, he felt he was able to make valuable contributions by participating. A common complaint with an Alzheimer's diagnosis can be that there is little that can be done about it. Well, research offered the opportunity for Steve to do something, not just for him, but for future generations. That is a legacy I can always share with our grandchildren. Steve's involvement has contributed to lasting memories. As you can tell, I could probably go on and on about the positive role research has played in our lives, but we have some amazing advocates here to share their personal and inspirational perspectives, and I can't wait to hear them. Thanks.
Judy, that was so beautiful. And, you know, I even love how Steve injected that like little bit of humor when asking about brain donation. That's a no-brainer. You know, I think that there is a need for that lightness sometimes. And in a community of people who have the experience and understanding, we can feel that safety, that safe space to try to say, you know what, I'm living my life with this. Joy and all. Thank you. Well, now I am thrilled to turn it over to another wonderful speaker, Nasim.
Hello, my name is Nasim Kassam. I am not a public speaker at all, so please bear with me. This is the first time ever I'm talking on a Zoom. I joined MADRC about a year ago, and I really like it. I have been doing research for the last 40 years, but not in Alzheimer's, different type of, my jobs were all involved with research. I recently retired, but I joined because my mom, especially my mom, we lost my mom in Alzheimer's. And she got it at a later age, which was around 80 years. But then I'm also very nervous because my dad's side of the family has also got Alzheimer's. And that was the main reason to join and to be helpful if I can in any way. Helpful in any way that I can, so that in the research. And here I am. If you have any questions, I really like joining the research group, and I'm learning something every day about myself. Luckily, so far so good. No signs, but you never know, because I'm still only in my 70s, and the Alzheimer's in my family has developed after in the 80s. So I'm still not out of danger. But that's all I can say right now, because it's only been a year, and I love it. Since I've done research all my life, I hope I can be some help. Thanks.
Nassim, I think that you're really sharing something important, which is that you were prompted because of other individuals in your family,
Right.
that you wanted to become connected, to learn about yourself and also contribute. And that those are two wonderful reasons. And a reminder, Alzheimer's disease, dementia are not normal parts of aging. And so by engaging in research and sharing our stories, sharing our time, sometimes even our bodies, our minds, it's a way to contribute to understanding why does it affect some individuals and not others. Thank you. Thank you, Nassim. Yeah. Well, I'm already feeling inspired, and now I'd like to welcome Dennis to speak to our audience.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for coming to the seminar. I was a participant in the A4 study that was completed last year at Brigham. Currently, I'm in 2 other research studies at Mass General. So let me share with you how I became involved in Alzheimer's research and my experience in this journey. Over 10 years ago, my wife was having some concerning memory issues. We were really scared because multiple people in her family had died of AD. We contacted Alzheimer's Association for help. We learned a lot about the disease and the research activities in their meetings and seminars. We also entered the trial match program. Even though we signed up, we really didn't know what to expect. And we were also very uncertain about the risk and the commitments that are involved. My journey started with a call from the Center for Alzheimer's Research and Treatment at Brigham. In this call, the recruiter explained what the trial was about and the procedure for joining it. She then emailed a medical record release form for me to sign, and then also a consent document that has the details of the study. We exchanged more emails and phone calls where she answered all the questions that my wife and I had, and we set up the first visit to the clinic for screening. The screening is a multi-step process to confirm that I meet the requirement in the study design and that I don't have any medical conditions that would prevent me from participation. Different studies will have different requirements and different disqualifying factors. The drug trial part of the study requires monthly study drug infusion, periodic cognitive assessments, and regular safety checks. that include blood tests, physical exams, and MRI scans of the brain for side effects. I was always assured that if they saw anything concerning, whether trial-related or not, they will let us know and contact our PCP to follow up. Many studies now have at-home infusions, where a specially trained study nurse will come to your home, so you don't have to travel into the office. If you need to go to the clinic, they will pay for parking or for the cost of Uber or Lyft. One of the 2 studies that I am currently in is a 6-month observational study that is done almost entirely at home. Its goal is to evaluate the possibility of using computer game-like programs to measure cognition. The hope is that they can replace the supplement the traditional cognitive test so that more data can be collected in a continuous basis and to allow earlier detection of AD. Most importantly, patients can have more fun while being tested. The study requires me to play 4 computer games daily for a minimum of 5 minutes each and at least 5 days a week. But I always end up playing more than that because I enjoy the games. The games run on an iPad provided by the study, and it uploads the data automatically over my Wi-Fi network. We have phone checks in every 6 weeks and an in-clinic cognitive assessment at the beginning and end of the study. It is mostly fun and very little work. So these are just 2 examples for what participating in a research is like. Mass General and Brigham has many clinical trials and research studies, and I hope you'll find one that is interesting and feel comfortable to you. From experience, I know the research staff truly value participants, and they will do their best to make the experience positive and pleasant for you. So thank you. I look forward to seeing you as a fellow traveler.
Dennis, thank you so much. You know, Dennis, something that really stood out to me while you were talking is the words that you used at the beginning of your story. You talked about how you were scared when you saw early symptoms. You talked about how there were unknowns about participating. And then at the end, when you talked about your connection, you used words like reassurance and fun. So I would just really like to thank you for sharing that and how your experience changed. You share with us that change just by connecting with research opportunities. So thank you for that. Now I would love to turn it over to Art. Art, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. To preface my comments, my mom was the greatest mom in the world. She was always there for myself and my 2 sisters. And she served as an inspiration for my even considering participating in clinical trials. In addition, my partner also supported my doing this. So I just wanted to share that they helped me make the decision. My dad had passed away in the 90s. My mom was living alone in her condominium in Peabody, about 30 minutes away from me. When I was watching television and I saw that there was a fire at my mom's complex, I immediately contacted the management and my mom. My mom was not answering her phone, so I contacted management to find out, yes, there had been a major electrical fire, and they wanted all of the people in that building to leave as quickly as possible so that they could find out what the problem was, and do everything that they had to do in order to get the building back to where it should be. And so in my mom's case, fortunately, my younger sister owned a condominium in Ashland, of all places. And so, and obviously no one was living there. So we packed up my mom from Peabody. We brought her to Ashland, which was great. And she started living there, and I was really happy because my sister lived near there as well. So she could look in on her. While this was happening, I was looking at going away. I had been planning a trip with my partner to go to Prague. And we both looked at each other and said, my mom used to be a traveler. I wonder if she'd like to come with us. So we decided to take her to Prague. We had a wonderful week there. And when we got back, we asked her to stay at our house for the night before she headed back to Ashland. But being my mom, she wanted to go back and unpack and deal with everything. And we said, fine, do that. I called her. She seemed fine when she got home. But later that night, my sister called and she said, Mom's not answering. What's going on? And I said, well, I had spoken to her earlier, but please go over and check out, see what's going on. Well, she did. She walked in. My mom's car was running. It was in the garage underneath the condominium, and it was still running from the time she got there earlier. And my sister immediately was concerned because my mom wasn't getting up readily. She was very tired. I told her to call the fire department. They in turn came to my mom's place and said, yes, carbon monoxide. You need to get your mother into a car, take her to a hospital because she needs to be in a hyperbaric chamber for 24 hours. So we did that. We went to the hospital. We took care of that. And, when we decided, well, we don't want her to go back to the condo. So my older sister said, why doesn't she live with me until we can deal with the condo situations? So while she was living there, my mom, when my sister took her to the hospital, she got diagnosed with mild Alzheimer's. At which point, it was really concerning because I started thinking, well, my mom had Alzheimer's. My grandmother had something called arteriosclerosis, which they weren't calling anything Alzheimer's at that point. And my father even had some slight dementia before he died. And I was concerned really for myself and my sisters. And so what happened is my partner brought home, first of all, we wanted to make sure my mom was in a safe place. We decided on assisted living and hopefully with memory care as well. My sister did a little research, found the 5 best assisted living Medicare complexes in the Boston area. And then we took my mom to these places and said, you're going to select your next home. And she did. She picked this wonderful place, which I'm happy to say was the right move. It was a perfect place for her. We were really happy about that. But while this was happening, my partner brought home a leaflet. Actually, it was a one-page flyer for something called A4. And as it turned out, A4 was an international clinical trial geared to try to remove amyloid plaque from the brain, which meant that I had to go in and get, to have be tested in order to see if I met the prerequisites for the study. I went into CART, the Center for Alzheimer's Research and Training. I did have Alzheimer's, I did have amyloid plaque on the brain, which was quite concerning at the time, but I started going to CART And what really blew me away was the place was, it was like going to a second home. People were welcoming. People were really, they were there for us. It was a pleasure. By my second or third month, I looked forward to going there because people were just so upbeat. People were just so supportive. And I continued that for 7 years until the A4 trial ended. Unfortunately, the trial did not address the amyloid plaque in the brain, but it did serve. The results will help other studies in the future, learning from what they shouldn't be doing moving forward. So I thought that was a real plus. But it really helped me. Still, I want to continue doing things that would be a benefit to my sisters or potentially my family. So right now I'm looking for another research trial. But getting back to research trials, being able to do this in an environment where people are so supportive, it's a no-brainer. And so I have no qualms whatsoever about participating in my next clinical trial. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Art, I love that. Thank you for sharing with us I think your passion. Of course, as a mother myself, I am endeared to any son who says that his mother is the best mom in the world. But what I really heard was this thread that Judy started us with, and you're continuing, which is a journey, right? Your journey with your mom to travel to Prague has become this journey of how her life is changing from living independently to needing that community support. And that you have embarked on a journey to connect with research that may lead to support for you, but will definitely lead to more information for our scientific community. And, thank you for that.
I would agree. And Katie, when my mom did pass away 5 years ago, but that only reinforced my considering participation in trials. I think it's really important, and it's something that she would have supported me with.
And so we think of that, the love that we have for people and how that builds connections. And so I think that's a beautiful way to turn it over to our wonderful couple, Barbara and Neil. And we welcome you to share your experience.
Hello, my name is Neil Collins. I have Alzheimer's and have been a participant in the aducanumab Biogen drug trials at Brigham and Women's for the past 7 years. My wife of 40 years, Barbara, has been my study partner throughout this journey. About 10 years ago, when I had retired from my 45-year career as an environmental attorney and was home, my wife joined me in her partial retirement from her career as educator. In the time we were spending together, she began noticing I was forgetting details in our daily lives, which I had never done before. We were both concerned. What did this forgetting mean? Was it more than I was getting a little older? We reached out to friends in the medical field, and I did my own research. This led us to Brigham and Women's Neurology Department, where we had the very good fortune to meet a Dr. Stephen Fesky. I was evaluated, observed, and monitored for 2 years by experienced, caring, and very smart professionals.
Then came the frightening day that changed the course of our lives, the journey you've all heard talked about here. Sometimes change happens like that at a very accelerated pace. Neil had had a successful career as an environmental attorney, and even before technology helped cartographers design maps, Neil could create any map his colleagues needed. Neil had a gift of seeing space and how the natural world belonged in it. His maps captured forests, waterways, and even the air that needed to be protected. Neil could apply this gift and navigate anywhere in the Boston metro area without a map. So I still remember with fear 8 years ago when we were walking in the Boston Public Gardens, and Neil couldn't remember how to get to Newbury Street. This is a street that begins at the Public Gardens and was a short distance from where we were. It was also only a few blocks from where he had lived and worked when we first met. Soon after that memory loss episode, and after talking with our neurologist at Brigham and Women's and with friends, we galvanized our strengths and volunteered for an Alzheimer's drug trial that was going into its third and final phase at the Center for Alzheimer's Research, the MADRC study through Biogen.
So why did we join this drug trial? There are many reasons. I attended a nearby college in Massachusetts, Holy Cross, where I took a lot of science courses intending to go to medical school. Instead, I went to Georgetown Law School. I would explain the shift for those curious by saying in medicine, you had to be absolutely right or you risked harming a patient. However, in law, you tried to write both sides inside and outside of the lines to protect what you believed in. You had a greater freedom of voice. I went on to a career in environmental law that included time in local government, where I prepared reviews on draft environmental and land use law to combat unbridled development. Then I spent a few years working in the Environmental Protection Agency's air programs headquarters, helping write national regulations. Finally, I advised a company seeking to build natural gas power plants on how to take advantage of a new high-volume natural gas line coming down from Canada. Barbara and I believe in science and the good it can do. We consider Boston one of the world's centers for medical innovation, and Brigham and Women's a true community of excellence for research on Alzheimer's disease. This was important to us. We'd have a team of doctors, nurses, and scientists watching over us with care, concern, and rules designed to assure safety and protection. Throughout our careers, we had both developed respect for scientific data and research when it was undertaken in the hands of smart and well-informed professionals who truly wanted to do good in the world. I had used research to help save the environment, and Barbara had used it to make learning accessible for all children. We would have a chance for a head start on controlling, slowing, diminishing, and or possibly curing this disabling disease. This drug trial, professionally formulated and tracked by experts in the field, offered my wife and I a new hope and a chance to contribute to the future of medical science. We embraced the opportunity to work side by side for the common good. Early on, I said, let's remember that even if this does not cure me now, it will help cure this disabling disease in the future.
As you can see, we were scared, we were sad, we were terrified. We had watched and helped care for my beloved father, who had been diagnosed with Parkinson's and what was called about 60 years ago, a non-traditional form of Alzheimer's. So you can see family patterns here being talked about. My father's perseverance and grace gave me strength and a lens into what might be the future for my husband, our girls, and myself. My sisters and I had grown up working in our father's drugstore. He was one of the last of the independent pharmacists in Connecticut. I saw firsthand the good that medication and working with knowledgeable, honest professionals could do.
Alzheimer's can be a lonely, frightening disease. It is quite a scary thing to recognize that your mind is fading away, maybe in just little bits that only you recognize. In its early stages, it's not noticeable to many in the outside world. Many don't really know what you're going through. You who once had a brilliant mind are now stumbling through the day.
As prepared and informed as we thought we were, once in the trial, we've thought about what helped us stay the course and continue with Neil's monthly infusions and all the additional tests and assessments that sometimes had us traveling to Brigham's several times a month in all kinds of weather. Initially, we didn't know if Neil was getting a placebo. We didn't know if he would get any of the early side effects. He did get one. We were truly going on trust. What we didn't anticipate, and you've heard talked about from just about everybody, and what became a truly unexpected gift, was this community that opened our arms to us and emboldened us to continue to move forward with resilience, courage, love, and hope. In our support group, we learned how to talk about this disease with family members, with daughters who were scared as they saw the changes in their beloved father. We learned from others how they were continuing to live their lives, enriched lives, remaining close to very dear friends and family members who in turn kept us close. Together, we sat and problem solved, downsizing our homes and adapting to the ever-changing needs of those with this disease and their partners, their study partners, their caregivers. Our caring nurses, Kirsten, we love you. During Neil's monthly infusions, the researchers, the administrators, and the staff with whom we worked included us both as equal partners, sharing and comforting. If someone didn't know the answer to one of our many questions that kept evolving over the years, they found someone who did. We developed personal friendships, close friendships. Many of our friends are here on the screen today, with those on this same journey, and became volunteer research ambassadors. The kindness we have encountered is beyond whatever we can give back. When our youngest daughter, Emma, announced her engagement several years ago, she asked if she and her fiance should get married a year earlier than planned in a small wedding, because it was so very important to her that her father was aware that she was getting married and that she was marrying her beloved Doug. Without hesitation and in full trust, we talked with our Dr. Scott McGinnis, Neil's neurologist, who clearly and compassionately let us know that from what he saw in Neil's medical records, we could wait the year. We did. And Neil and I walked our Emma down the aisle into the arms of her Doug.
We will be forever grateful to the Brigham and Women's team within the Center of Alzheimer's Research and Treatment. We feel and always have felt supported by caring, nurturing, innovative, and brilliant professionals. We both thank you.
Oh my goodness, Barbara and Neil. I am going to begin by extending a virtual hug and real love to you, both of you, and to everyone who has spoken today.
We got it. We keep getting it.
You keep getting it.
Yeah.
You know, I think what you both really just exemplified is the idea that just because a diagnosis has come into your life does not mean that joy must go out, and that there is still opportunity for love and fun and new memories and hope. Thank you for that. Thank you. For those who are here in the webinar with us in the Zoom room, please put your questions in the chat. And while you're doing that, I would love to start on the theme of something that Neil mentioned, which is this idea of freedom of voice and the importance of advocacy. So Judy, do you think you could start and maybe just say a little bit about what did you mean when you said that you and Steve became advocates? How did you use your voice? What did that actually look like?
Yeah, and I will say one of the greatest gifts we got from advocacy is where we first met Katie. I have pictures of my husband with Katie in Washington, D.C. years ago as we advocated. You know, again, with this, what felt kind of like a hopeless diagnosis, you want to make sure that everybody was looking for hope in hidden disguises, but also that our government was making changes to accommodate people. We used our voices. I had a very handsome 6'2" husband who, when he would walk into an office, our legislators would take notice.
Yes.
And while he may not have been able to express the story himself, they listened because they saw someone who was their same age and at same stage in life living with this disease. So the things that we advocated for along the way were earlier diagnosis, more funding for research, and for better education for people post-diagnosis. I'm also so proud to say that the first year we went to Washington, D.C. For an advocacy forum, the funding at that time was about $485 million a year for Alzheimer's research. Through the years of advocacy and everybody using their voices and people being eloquent with their stories, like Barbara and Neil in particular, the funding has now gone to 3.3 or 3.6 billion now, Katie?
I
this
think
year.
it's 3.6. Yes.
3.6. So voices matter, stories matter, and all of you, Dennis and Art and Barbara and Nassim and Neil, use these voices, keep using them, please, because our grandchildren are someday going to say, I remember a story about Alzheimer's and now it's just a memory. And that's going to be because of what you've done.
Judy, I love that. It's Senator Ed Markey, who's well known in Massachusetts. He loves to say that we know we will have achieved success when a child says, what is Alzheimer's disease? And we have to turn to the history books to tell them about it. I love it when he says that. He's such a champion. And, you know, our voice, our stories, really what that is about is human connection. So, of course, the science behind unlocking the secrets of Alzheimer's disease and related dementia is incredibly complex. But the reasons why we've all shown up to participate in research, to walk in an Alzheimer's walk, to light a candle on the longest night, or participate in a day-long activity on the longest day, it's really almost always because of a love connection, that you knew someone or you know someone who's affected by a memory disorder, by a brain disease. That's what unites us and inspires us as humans. And so if you ever think to yourself, well, what could I do? My story is not important. It is. Your story is incredibly important. So I did not put the link up, but maybe Lenore or Nancy will look for it, for the Alzheimer's Impact Movement. If anyone is interested in learning more about opportunities for advocacy supported by the Alzheimer's Association, which is the Alzheimer's Impact Movement, that's the advocacy and policy arm of their work, which leads directly to funding for research, which is why we're all here today. And so I wonder, Nassim, I want to give you an opportunity, as you've heard comments from others here. Have you thought about times where you've used your voice, maybe shared your experience with other family members? What has that been like for you? Do you ever tell anyone else in your family about participating in research?
No, I haven't, because all my family is in Canada. My mom was also in Canada.
Yeah.
Because they know that I've joined, I've joined about 3 studies right now. But yeah, once I decide which one is the best or what, I mean, I will definitely talk to them. Yeah, I have that in my mind. Yeah.
But even saying that you are in research, right? That just
Yes.
sparks the idea, oh, someone I know is participating in research. Did you know that the ability, I believe the last statistic I heard was that 90% of people who are eligible to participate in research are not participating. And it's because many people don't even know how to access, like, how would I find a clinical trial? How do I know if I'm eligible, whether it's Alzheimer's disease or any other type of research? So just Nassim, just saying that you're in research, it's normalizing it for people, helping them to maybe they would consider it the next time they saw a flyer or a healthcare professional extended an opportunity to them. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll try.
Dennis, you spoke about something what I noticed in your talk that was very important, which is you kept mentioning logistics. You talked about being reimbursed for parking. You talked about how a nurse would come to your home for infusions. You talked about how you access the games that you play on your phone. And what I really appreciated about that is you're like giving people a window into the experience. And so I just wanted to ask, has that helped like understanding like the nuts and bolts, you know, step by step what happens? Does that make it easier for you to participate in research?
Absolutely. I think, by talking with people about participating in research, what I found was lots of people wanted to participate. They have interest, but they are afraid because they don't know what is involved, and they don't know, what kind of risk they would be facing, and they don't know there are many kind of research. Some of them don't involve any risk at all, and so there are varying level of risk and commitment. So, with the range of research that is going on, I think, everybody have an opportunity if they're interested. They just need to find it. And I think there are more resources now on the web that one can easily go look.
That's right, Dennis. And thank you so much for mentioning that. We have a note in the chat where we're reminded that MADRC offers a roadmap booklet on research participation. And Dennis, I think that that word you used, unknown, and even talking about level of risk, people might think, oh my gosh, the only way I can participate in research is to take drugs. But you talked about you could play video games, and that could help people learn about cognition, what your brain is able to do. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for reminding us that there are many ways to participate.
Yes, and one can have fun doing it too.
Yeah, and the fun. Art, you talked about something that was a consistent theme throughout from people in your life. And also, as you said at the end, that your mom would support what you're doing today. And I think that gets to this idea of the study partner or just other people in your life. Could you talk a little bit about why that's been important to you, that people around you support that you participate in research?
I think there's most people don't understand it, meaning they don't understand, okay, research, what's this going to do? And to me, it's I have a history of being an advocate for any organization I ever worked for. I served in an advocacy capacity. And to me, it's important. It's important that, one, people are very clear on this is what it is. This is what happens. And if you're doing it at a place like CART, you have doctors, you have nurses, you have, these people that are part of the medical industry. You couldn't be in a safer place. And so, when I mention this to people, and I've referred a number of people, I think it's important that people realize that in their own families, they have people with Alzheimer's or other dementias, and they can do something about it. It's just I think we all have to find that area that we really want to invest our time, energy, and to me, this is important. This is really important.
Thank you for that, Art. And I'd like to plant the seed. If you're listening to this webinar today and you're thinking, oh, I don't know, I'm still not ready to sign myself up. Think about how if you have a friend or a family member who wants to participate in research, you could support them. You could say, hey, do you need a ride to your research appointments? Do you want me to make you dinner on the night that you're going to be all day at the hospital? Because I could do that. That could be the start of how you participate in research by supporting a research participant. So there are all different ways to support finding the cure of tomorrow. Thank you, Art, for reminding us of that. As we're starting to come to the end of our hour, I think we cannot leave without turning back to Barbara and Neil. Barbara and Neil, there's a beautiful note for you in the chat, if you haven't seen it, from one of our members, just how inspiring you both are. I would like to really highlight something that you spoke about, which was your conversation with Dr. Scott McGinnis when your daughter was talking about when she should get married. Because that conversation that you had with Dr. McGinnis, that wasn't about lab work or new medication. That was about your values, something important to your life. Can you talk about how important that is for you to be able to discuss your whole life with your treating physician?
It's essential, and it supports our worldview of a wholeness model, but that doesn't sound even powerful enough, that we felt we've been able to be supported and talk through all aspects of our lives and our children's lives and our need exercise and diet and cognitive stimulation and close friendships. We've talked about how our whole lives have been, we've thought through our whole lives as we've gone on the journey with our friends here, the research ambassadors, and with all of the physicians and the nurses, so that has contributed to us as a couple, our family, and our friends.
And it's a matter of trust that the folks at Brigham's build up. I mean, you're with them for a long period of time. You're asking little questions. So when a highly personal question comes up, you can just go and ask, what do you think? And you'll get an honest answer. So that too was pretty invaluable.
Yeah.
I think that what you're saying right now, a part of the work that I do in my role as the director of caregiver supports is I have the opportunity to present sometimes to medical students, other healthcare professionals, and letting them know about how important it is to take the time to build that trust and those relationships, because that actually impacts your quality of care and your quality of life. So thank you for that important message. I mean, this has been such a wonderful presentation. I just feel so lucky to have all of you here. And so what I'm going to do now, let me just share my screen. I always hope to share the PowerPoint slides with grace and finesse, but it doesn't always go that way. But here we are. So thank you all for joining us. But I want everyone to take a look at this screen. Look at all of the ways that you can stay connected. Go online, madrc.org. Send this website to one other person in your life. Okay, that's my challenge to all of you today. Post it on your social media platform so that we can spread the word that there are opportunities for connections. So feel free to take a screenshot of this screen and continue to stay connected with MADRC. Okay, I'm giving you a moment for that. Now I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all of you as we close out today. In this season of gratitude, I am grateful for all of you for being brave, for opening up your world, your private world, and sharing the lived experience of being a person living with Alzheimer's disease, of loving someone with dementia, of wanting to be a champion for the next generation. Thank you all. And please remember to complete the surveys that we will email to you, because we want to hear what you appreciated about today's program and what you would like to hear about next as we continue to develop webinar series like this. Thank you all.